Welcome to Sobermentum Today, where we talk about middle of the road drinking and how trying on an alcohol free lifestyle might just help you show up as a better version of yourself for your life, your loved ones, and everything that matters to you most. I'm your host, Morgan Smith, and today's topic is what to say to people about why you're not drinking when you're taking a break. But before we get started, if you've been questioning your drinking, which is a very healthy thing to do, by the way, you can find out exactly where you stand on the alcohol drinker spectrum by clicking the link in the show notes. With that said, this is an issue that I definitely wrestled with when I was initially beginning to take breaks from alcohol some years back. And, let's face it, I mean, we're social creatures. Um, Part of our nature is to be in good standing with our tribe, our circle of friends or family. And so when you do something that's out of the norm, especially if you don't necessarily want to call attention to yourself, it can create a little bit of angst, a little bit of anxiety about what am I going to tell people? I don't really want people to think I had a problem with alcohol. I don't want people to be nosy and pry, and it can build up in your mind and become something that's a little bit of an obstacle. So what I want to do in this episode is maybe help remove some of those obstacles and maybe give you some peace of mind that it's going to be okay. So, um, here's some of the things that you can say, and some of the things I've suggested to some of my clients. And um, I've used some of these variables myself back in the day. But, I think the one thing you're going to find by and large, maybe this is the first piece of advice to put your mind at ease, is that most people don't really care. A lot of people aren't even going to notice, quite frankly, that you're not drinking. Um, you can kind of just order something that might look like alcohol. You could get some sparkling water or something like that. So maybe they're not even going to notice. So that's the first concern, is that people are going to notice. A lot of people won't. The second thing is, even if they do notice, may not say anything. Probably most people won't. But some things that you can say as a way to just maybe deflect or just sort of move the conversation on to the next topic, if you're asked, is the first one I can think of is, hey, I'm training for a marathon, or I am training for like a Tough Mudder, or one of these. I think there's another one called the Muddy Dash. These mud crawling events. Um, so something like that, right? Like there's some sort of event, fitness type thing, competition that you're preparing for. That pretty much is just going to end. Oh, okay, that's going to end it right there. The next thing you could say is, hey, I'm doing a sober challenge. Like me and a couple buddies from work or whatever from the gym, we're doing this 30-day sober challenge. We're doing a dry January or a sober October or something like that. And most people nowadays know somebody who's doing some kind of wellness thing. I just think that in general, the topic of fitness and nutrition and health and wellness are just all a little bit more on the forefront maybe than they used to be. So, I mean, we all know somebody who has some sort of dietary restriction, or they're doing some sort of a special program or whatever. So everybody's just like, oh, okay, cool, that's cool. And I don't think that you're probably going to get too many more questions from there. The third thing is, and I actually had somebody say this to me this week, a colleague of mine who just personally volunteered while we were at lunch, that he's like, yeah, I haven't had a drink in 3 weeks, and so I'm not going to be drinking tonight, because this was before like a happy hour thing that was going on. And so I was like, oh, okay. Obviously what I do with Sobermentum made me a little bit curious about it. So I asked him why, and he's like, man, my wife just straight up told me I'm too fat and I need to lose some weight. And the quickest way and easiest way for me to do that has always been to just cut out the booze for a while. And I was like, okay, cool. So I think that's another good one. Hey, I'm just trying to lose some weight, whatever. I'm minding my fitness. Those are just three examples. With that said, if you've got some clever or creative or maybe funny examples that you've given people when you're on a break from alcohol, throw a comment in the comment section. Let me know. I'd love to hear some different stories and ideas and maybe different ways, and you can obviously share those with everybody else in the comment section to learn from and possibly try themselves. I will also say this, though. In the early days, especially when it came to work functions or maybe other areas when I would maybe be around people I didn't know that well, I did carry around maybe just a tiny bit of shame or embarrassment about the topic, and I didn't really want to discuss it with anybody. It was just, I'm a very private person. Even just doing this YouTube and podcast was a huge obstacle for me to overcome to even talk about this openly. So it wasn't something I really wanted to discuss, but I will say this, and you may find this the longer period of time you remain sober. You may have found this even in just short breaks from alcohol. But what I found is when people find out you're not drinking, and especially if they find out that you made a decision to just remove alcohol from your life indefinitely, a lot of times they get curious and they will voluntarily start talking about how they need to cut back, and they know they probably drink too much, and good for you, and wish I could do that, or yeah, I really I admire that, or I wish I could do that myself, or just like a very sort of sympathetic but also supportive, and also maybe a tiny bit of admiration that you've done something that maybe they wish they could do. And so with that said, I've always found it interesting, and I've never solicited that. I've never pried. I don't ever ask anyone about their own personal drinking habits. I don't preach at all. I don't tell everybody they should stop drinking. Nothing like that. But I just think it's interesting to note that this has happened to me on many occasions where people just voluntarily open up, and I just think that's interesting. So contrary to the concern that maybe somebody would make a snide comment to you or criticize you or ask, oh, why, did you have a problem? Are you an alcoholic or something? I think those fears are in our minds in the very beginning. I'm not going to say that could never happen. Obviously it could. It never happened to me. Nobody has. I mean, I've been almost 5 years on my sober vacation, and I've never had a single person to me. And by the way, I've been to hundreds and hundreds of social events, family stuff, friend stuff, neighborhood barbecues, many work happy hours, many work events where everybody was drinking except me, and not a single word of criticism or sarcasm, nothing like that. It has all been positive, and it has all been encouraging. And so I want to put your mind at ease that, not to say that it couldn't happen to you, but I have found this, and many of my clients have reported the same in conversations with them about, kind of how's it going? What are you experiencing out there in the field where the rubber meets the road? It's just by and large positive. And so I feel like if you're just starting out in this and that's a little bit of a potential stumbling block for you psychologically, I don't think you need to worry about it. I think it's going to be a lot easier and less of an issue than you think it is. And let's face it, anybody out there who would give you any flack for trying to make a wellness decision for yourself, that speaks to their own issues. That doesn't say anything about you. That says more about them. So with that said, I'm going to wrap it up. If you found anything on this episode or any of the other episodes on the channel helpful, go ahead and give it a like, maybe subscribe if this is content you'd like to hear and see more of. By doing that, you increase the chances that it'll maybe come across somebody else's feed and maybe help them and, help them kind of gain some traction in their own relationship with alcohol. Likewise, if you want additional information about taking a break from middle of the road drinking, check out my website, Sobermentum.com. Lots of free resources there. And so hope you enjoyed today's episode. Like I said earlier, make a comment in the comments section. Maybe give me some ideas about what you have said to people, and would love to hear that from you as well. So with that said, we'll catch you in the next episode of Sobermentum Today.